All right, welcome back. We are Viewpoints. This is our Proposition Roundtable. We're getting everybody's opinion about Proposition 3 right now. Proposition 3, loosely called the Children's Hospital Bond Act. And let me just start off by saying, whenever I hear a proposition with a title like Children's Hospital Bond Act, you know, it always kind of raises a red flag to me, because who's going to vote against the children? You know, honestly, you know, when they have names like that, I don't know, the Patriot Act, it makes you wonder what's really in this bill. So you know, we have a panel here that's read the full text. We'll get into it. I'm just saying, you know, I could call it the Fuzzy Bunnies Act. I could call it the Elementary Schools and Aid for Disabled Students Act, and I could put in the 17th paragraph, the second sentence. By the way, we need to sacrifice our firstborn. Do you think everybody would read it? Do you think everybody would get to that point? I don't know. But anyway, like I was saying, we have a panel here who does know the details of this bill, so let's open up the discussion to them.
Well, I think you bring up the most important point, is that it is called the Children's Hospital Bond Act, but it really has nothing to do with the care or treatment of children. It has to do with raising or giving bonds to local hospitals to be able to expand. Also, the issue that I have with it is that 80% of the money would go to privately owned hospitals, hospitals that are backed by their own funding and are responsible for their own building and such. And so to give them money with no accountability as to exactly how they're going to use it and what the requirements of them using it for seems irresponsible.
Irresponsible. Any comments on that?
I would have to say that regardless of which hospitals the money is going to, if nothing else, it should lower the cost of healthcare treatment. Of course, it's possible that a hospital will just take their sack of money and give it to the CEO, but I think it's far more likely that it'll go towards reducing cost of medications and treatments all around.
The only issue with that is that the bonds that are being sold will be paid back by the hospitals themselves. So it's not going to give them any money in the end. They're going to have to pay back the bonds, which are 150%. So they lose money in the end.
Well, it's like any loan that you give somebody. You know, it's not necessarily free money. So there is the accountability, at least minimally accountability.
And what kind of accountability is that?
Well, and the problem that I have is that they don't account for what it's going to be used for. They say that the Commission on Children's Hospitals, or California Commission on Hospitals, will be the one to deem whether or not their project is worthy, but it doesn't say what the requirements are. It doesn't say that it has to be used for treating children or anything of that, and most of it is structured in a way that it goes for them renovating their existing buildings.
Now see, those are the arguments that I've been hearing. On the no side, I hear the actual benefits are to the suppliers, the pharmaceutical companies. On the yes side, I hear this is going to benefit our children, and the children are the future of our state. You know, which one of those actually holds the most water? And even if you know, pharmaceutical companies might benefit from this to a certain extent, would the children also benefit? I mean, go ahead.
As someone who runs a medical supply company, I still would have to disagree with it. I'd probably get a great deal of money from Loma Linda University Children's Hospital, but I don't see that it says that it does what they're promoting it to do. And like the commercials that they run with Jamie Lee Curtis and the kids making a music video, she says, you know, it won't raise taxes, it'll save lives, but there's nothing in the bill that has anything to do with treating kids. And for these private hospitals, the problem that I have is once they get a kid stable, they don't have to continue further treatment like many of the public hospitals do.
Well,
so they can turn them away just because they don't have the ability to pay or the insurance.
My main argument against this proposition is that there are still Proposition 61 funds available. In this tough economic time, we can't, especially for our state, we can't be just drawing new bills to spend more money. We need to spend the money we have before we go further into debt.
Explain to the people watching this what were the stipulations of Proposition 61, and how does that relate to Proposition 3 this time around?
Basically, Proposition 61 authorized about $750 million in bonds for Children's Hospital. About $403 million of those dollars had already been awarded as of, I guess, June, July. I don't know, this past summer. But we're already drawing up a ballot for more. We're already drawing up this bond act for more money to be procured, yet we haven't finished spending the money that we already made for those children's hospitals.
Well, speaking about the time frame, when would the Proposition 3 actually go into effect? By that time, would the Proposition 61 funds have run their course?
I don't really know, to tell you the truth, when Proposition 3 would come into effect. I don't remember, but the fact that we're in tough economic times and our state is in debt still holds. We can't really afford new spending at this time.
All right, and especially spending that's going to carry for 30 years, I guess you're saying.
Well, yeah, it would take 30 million. It would take 30 years to pay this off, and once again, that's more debt we're leaving to our children.
All right.
If we're cared about our children, we need to not leave them debt.
So, now the argument on both sides is for the children. Are we going to spend more on hospitals? Maybe the fiscal accountability is not all there. Or are we going to vote for the children by making sure they're not in debt in 30 years? I don't know. The answer is really up to you, the voters. So go ahead and make up your mind on Proposition 3 based on your own views and the information that we've gotten from our panelists here. All right, thank you. That was Proposition 3.